have you join us. And if you just been here, this is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our conversation for today. The West African Examinations Council, WAEC, is under intense criticism after students across Nigeria were forced to sit for the 2025 WASC English language exam in dire conditions. Viral videos showed candidates writing exams late at night using lanterns, candles, and phone flashlights due to the delayed paper deliveries and lack of electricity in various schools around the country. In Taraba State, a storm caused an exam hall to collapse, narrowly avoiding injuries. WAEC blamed the disruptions on efforts to curb exam malpractice, but many see this as an inadequate excuse. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and the National Association of Nigerian Students condemned the situation, calling it a national embarrassment and demanding a reset for affected students. Nancy criticized the late scheduling and accused WAEC of poor logistics and internal security failures, which left thousands of students stranded and very stressed. They described the situation as a violation of students' rights and a threat to their safety and their future. The House of Representatives has summoned WAEC to explain the widespread irregularities and warning of legislative actions if it fails to comply. Teachers and parents also across the country confirmed the delays and unsafe conditions, with some resorting to using generators and torch flashlights to help students finish their exams. The incident has sparked a national debate about the state of Nigeria's education system and the urgent need for accountability and reform. I have with me, just joining us, Wale Ogunwade, President, Voters Awareness Initiative. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you so very much for joining us. And still with me is Innocent Duluba, journalist, public affairs analyst. Thank you so very much, Innocent, for being here.
It's always my pleasure.
All right. Yeah, so let's get talking. I would love to start with you, sir. Just before we get into the crux of the matter, I know it's several decades back you sat for your WAEC. So I'd love you to maybe take us back a memory lane. What it was like, because it's very important we get to understand what it was before now and what we're experiencing today.
Yes, Innocent is looking at me and I'm casting my back to the 70s,
yes.
The late 70s. And of course it was fun. We call WAEC then Baba Yaba, and because it's situated Yaba there. And of course it was an almighty thing. Before the exam in June or May, we always have what we call a mock examination. And that is to prepare our minds and our psyche towards the main examination. And then all of us get ready, because we know that is the May or Ma examination. You get it right, you go on with your life. You get it wrong, you get stranded, I'll go back. So those who are serious get serious. I'm one of those who are not serious because I was very rascally.
Wow.
I was very rascally. I went to a rascally school, and of course, all of us there is in Ijebu Grammar School. All of us there are brilliant. Anyway, it's one of the top-notch schools in this country. But then, I was one of those who was very rascal, who didn't care, I was just playful. So I failed the WAEC. But that's not the issue. The issue is the preparation. Months before, I told you we'll do the mock, and of course, immediately after mock, we are made to go for extra coaching.
Okay.
During in between there will be a holiday. We don't go for holidays. We return back in school.
Was it a boarding school?
Yes, it's a boarding school.
So the school kept you?
Well, not keeping as you are. This language now is an optional thing.
Oh, okay. For those
if you want to, you stay. But generally, everyone will stay.
But that means the school allowed it.
Obviously, the school allowed it. The day students too join us. They don't go for holidays. So we get prepared. And the most interesting thing is that we were young, running up and down, but along the line, we will be made to know we call it area of concentration, but particularly if it's in those of us who are involved in sciences, the biology, what will be used for practical physics and chemistry will be asked, our teachers will teach us, put us in the know, and so on and so forth. In between, we will see them running up and down, inquiring, making inquiries, with getting in touch with WAEC. Don't forget.
Who exactly now?
The teachers, particularly the head of departments. Because one of the head of departments happened to be a teacher. One of the head of department happened to be the man in charge of coordinating WAEC activities for the examination. So maybe when he's teaching us, maybe there will be a call. You know, that time it was not a time of GSM. It was this landline. So maybe a call will be put across to him, or the principal will put a call across to them in WAEC, and they will now call him for one clarification or the other. In essence, what I'm saying is that there was some synergy, there was some relationship between WAEC and every school.
Good planning.
Good planning. And for information, my wife just retired as a principal of a secondary school in Lagos State. And I know that indeed, WAEC, each of the group of schools, they have a WAEC officer who relates with the school and WAEC itself. So I know that. So for our time, this man will relate with them, and of course, eventually they will bring out the timetable. That's where I'm going. The timetable will always have the morning, the afternoon, morning and afternoon, or midday. Some papers will start 10 o'clock, some papers will start 2 o'clock, and maybe some papers, maybe if they are not big papers, simple papers, maybe 3 o'clock or so, depending, you know. Again, it's about combination. So the one that will start 3 o'clock, very few people, they will put them somewhere. Then those who will start 3 o'clock, they will put them somewhere too. Maybe those who do music or this less
technical drawing or whatever
that have a very low number of people. So at the end of the day, nobody writes any paper after 4:30. It has never happened, no matter the delay.
So every exam ends possibly 5, 6.
Before 6. What are we doing in the exam for 6 o'clock? 5 o'clock. We never got to that level. We never got to that level. The one I did, I'm sure, maybe 3:30. There won't be delay because I remember it comes in pouches. The exam paper comes in pouches. They will lock it with a key and all. At least I still remember that. So when it comes, they have a way of delivery. So where I'm going at, in essence, is that they are timing us about the whole activity, the logistics correct. So really, I care less. When my wife was like principal, once in a while the officer will call her, and of course they will be taking instruction, logistics, and all. So I'm surprised that this year everything just went awry.
And I would love to believe during your time there were no issues of leakage of
no. There are there are leakages.
Okay.
There will be students like us now who did not read. No, I'll tell the truth. There are students like us who will not read and who are looking for leakages.
Yes, because the reason why I asked is to do a juxtaposition of what it was before now, many years before now.
No, students will always be students.
Yes.
You won't tell me that you are not part of those who are looking for Rijo we call it. Students will always be students. Those who don't read will always want a way out. It's a natural thing, but the only thing is that where they are running for the Rijo, as we call it, that's leakage. At the end of the day, most of the time, it failed them, and they fail woefully. I learned my lesson the hard way. The first WAEC I sat for, I failed woefully. The second one again, I failed woefully. I succeeded the third time.
Bravo.
That's actually very good, because the reason why we're doing all of this is just to let the current generation know that they are not the first to write WAEC. For a very long time, and we're very excited that you, of course, detail how it was. Innocent Aduluba, let's bring us up to speed now. Between the 2000 and now, what do you think has changed from what it was in the early 70s, late 70s to the 80s? So from 2000 to now, what really has changed?
at that 2000, I was already an undergraduate at Unilag, but I can say that it can be argued, but there is a recent shift in focus in so many things in Nigeria, WAEC inclusive. A lot of institutions seem to want to impress that they have capacity for fund generation than their core mandate. The WAEC can tell you they generate JAMB to tell the, you know, WAEC wasn't a money spinning board. For all the exams Mr. Ogunade said he wrote, I don't think you were spending, your own is to get yourself well documented and accurately prepared. And then two, I think Nigeria has been infiltrated. If you look from the economy, there is a deficit in hands-on involvement in labor. When I was like, at the time, let me see, at the time, during President Muhammadu Buhari as a military, because I started primary school when President IBB was in power.
That's from 85.
Yes,
yes.
So during the President Buhari's time, I was always a homeboy at the Ikeja military cantonment. My daddy was serving there. And I was a radio person. I either come out to watch aeroplane fly, and then the nursery school wasn't as rampant as it was. So I used to hear over the radio, there is dignity in labor. Maybe you people like you would have heard it better than us. I didn't know what it says. I say it, mouthed it caricaturely until my father corrected me. So that dignity in labor seemed to be eroding quick.
Seriously.
So Nigerians are quickly on the fast lane. That fast lane warrants a lot of racketing, a lot of cutting corners here, a lot of, and then a lot of irresponsibility. Because, I mean, instead of WAEC to own up, possibly issue out an apology, that media says they say they want to curb malpractice. So can you not curb malpractice?
No, when will malpractice be promoted and practiced, if not midnight?
So can you not curb malpractice during in my time, for instance, I wrote my WAEC in the 90s, and at the time, my secondary school, I'm really grateful to God to have attended St. Patrick's College, Calabar. They have an exam hall. You don't write your WAEC in the classroom. So sometimes when you pass the exam hall, it's dirty, it's rusty, because it's not exam season. But leading to your junior WAEC, it will be cleaned, prepared, and even despite the maybe fractional leakages, so to speak, the examiner brings out that roll, you say, and tears it open in front of us and tell you these are your WAEC papers. We will murmur and grumble, but now I know better. Possibly then, for whatever the deficit, it wasn't as worse as now. So, but I think I would just say by summary that it is unacceptable for students to write WAEC by night. It is unacceptable to have WAEC of possibly almost 60 years old falling short in logistics delivery and timing. This should have been what they do annually, and over time we would have been perfecting. With regards to delivery, let's leave the leakage and with regards to delivery, there are vendors for printing, there are vehicles for this delivery, and no state should be too remote for their delivery to be done. And then lastly, I would submit that perhaps Nigeria is too large for this WAEC centralization. WAEC may be printed either in Abuja or Lagos, and you start. So maybe these are things we should start looking at.
So very, very true.
I just want I want to add.
Please do, Barrister.
Just as I said earlier on, I mean, like Nigeria has not shrunk in size, and I want to believe, well, maybe the number of students have increased.
Of course, definitely.
But that does not mean that logistics should just be destroyed the way it is. It's just lack of planning and logistics.
Now,
and one will pin it down on the people who are in charge of logistics in WAEC. No other issue. In fact, WAEC is an institution that people like us respect. People like us respect WAEC, and for you to know what I'm saying, those of us who are around Lagos and they are watching this program should just take a drive round that WAEC premises near Yabatek there. And you know what I mean? Yeah. This is an institution that, despite the fact that people like us suffered in its hand, it made us to be what we are today.
Very true.
Why am I saying that? When I failed the first time, just as you said, dignity of labor, I now say that no, there is no shortcut to success. Let me go and sit down and read very well. And I sat down and I read and I passed. Those who decide not to read, obviously, they are still out there in the gutters and doing some menial jobs all over. But if you read and you pass your examination, you are going to the top. That's not the issue. Now, the issue is that this is an institution that is revered all over the world. Let me tell you, I've had friends who traveled outside Nigeria then when we were still around. And because they came with the West African examination certificate, they were given some latitude in Europe and America.
Some better consideration.
That's what I'm saying. They were giving them grade and better consideration. Instead of them spending 4 years, they were given 3 years to spend.
Is that, the case, 2 years. Is that the case today?
That's where I'm going. So what has made this standard to fall?
Now, it's very important that we are stating some of these things, Barrister, because WAEC is not just written here in Nigeria.
Yes,
it's equally done in Ghana and some other places. But what their experiences looks like in Ghana is not what we experience. The English that was written late here wasn't done the same way in Ghana. So the question is, at what point did we start getting it wrong exactly? Do we blame leadership? Is it a value chain deficit? Or let's concentrate the trouble on WAEC not doing the right thing?
It's a combination of all. I'm sorry, NSNs want to take
No.
It's a combination. It's a combination of everything. Because if something is wrong, to me, just as I said, it's about like this program. You see, everything starts about planning. If you didn't plan it, this program will hold. You know that definitely you must hold this program, so you must make plan for if public power supply goes off, there's standby generator or your what's it now, solar system is on, and of course the cameramen, the studio hands are around, because you can't be running up and down coordinating this and running after the camera. It's as simple as that. So we have a big examination to conduct, and the examination did not fall on you. And that's what we did. You know, I'm president of Voters Awareness Initiative. That's what we normally do on INEC when it was sleeping. And you see now, INEC is getting its acts gradually. The same thing here. When you have a national assignment, you are up and doing. And those who, this is not about sentiments or tribe or religion or he's my brother, let him be there. Then look at it now. This disgrace is upon us. Is West African Examination Council. As you said, this exam took place in Ghana, in other countries.
And we don't have this kind
of... They didn't have this kind of scandal. And I trust them in Ghana.
Really?
It will never happen. Because they will have their balls.
Yes.
Whoever makes this mistake will have his balls. But in Nigeria, my problem is about the PR people. They will come and now bring out I don't want to use that language.
So does that mean,
to insult our sensibility?
Yeah. So does that mean that our level of accountability has shrunk?
It has
to
shrunk.
the level that it doesn't matter any longer.
Well, if you
look at in JAM, something happened in JAM.
I will butt in here.
Yeah.
The importance of WAEC is watered down today. In your time, in that 70s,
it was the only one.
Let me use the word, with the robust economy at the time, somebody could scale WAEC and just get a good job.
Yes.
You don't necessarily need to maybe go to the, as in today.
You will get a good job there, but at the end of the day, it will still hang out. It will still come.
No, my point is the value there. Look at somebody in the 70s
who is having just a WAEC.
Yes, you are revered.
Yes,
I mean, you have reached a pedestal.
Yes.
Not as it is today.
Yes, obviously.
In my time, I was lucky. Towards my school gives a scholarship domestically annually. Okay. Once you get one scholarship, the school is on you. I remember I've been called from the library where I was reading and flogged in class. Why? I was to be in class.
But you were in the library.
And they didn't ask what I was reading. I was reading novels. You know. So you know you are marked by this school to pass your WAEC. The school did the mock. My mock was poor. My father didn't know. He knows I get this scholarship, and so, oh, Innocent is a top performer. But the Bible would say the prodigal son came to his senses. And I told myself, this WAEC fee, I don't think my father will pay twice. So I know my daddy. He will just ask you to repeat. So I went around and got better prepared. A teacher will see you and ask you, hey, come here. I hope you are prepared well for a WAEC. It was a culture. So from the WAEC to the school. That's why I said I started with the dignity of labor. Today, everything is monetized. A teacher relationship, in some cases, is what is the extra monetary your parents or the system brings for them. And at that WAEC level, we are toying with the gateway of the destiny of the future of a whole nation.
Good talk.
You are on the threshold of climbing to another level. Without, like you mentioned, your friends who traveled out, just without that WAEC document.
No way.
You know, so and we are in glasses. Do we know the visual strength of everybody in the night on that dim light?
Or not even about that. It's about the duress of writing exams. We all know the preparation level of these words and how much they put in to prepare themselves, and getting to write those exams late in the night. It is something. It's something they won't forget in a very long time. But Barrister, I'd love to ask you, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, hasn't said anything yet. We remember when the JAMB issue happened, he was very quick to come out to say it's because the exam body was trying to perfect malpractices and all, not knowing that it will come back to haunt him. Of course, he has learned from that. He hasn't come out to say anything yet. But of course, so do you think that we should possibly blame the continuous fracas we have with our examination to leadership at the very top level?
And you say the top level, this is now subjective, right? Leadership at all levels, not even top, at all levels. And maybe where I will go is that, yes, maybe the president will now tell the Minister of Education the right thing must be done here, and he knows what to do. You see, in this country, this is the only country I know that heads don't roll. When offenses are committed, when malfeasance happen, when blunders are made, breaches are occur, it's just normal. People will just come, they will just tell their PR department to just do a task statement, and that's all. Because Nigeria is an everyday problem. Every day another wahala. We've not finished from the JAMB thing. WAEC came up now. Before we finish WAEC tomorrow or by Monday, another thing will come up. So that will distract people, and not forgetting that there are some of us who keep tab of all these things. And ours is that, just as you have said, it is about managing our country. And that's why we are still in this quagmire. Because Nigeria has failed to manage itself. And when it comes to the time of head hunting, Nigerians refuse to pick the right head to lead it.
Exactly.
So when they refuse to pick the right head to lead it, and that is done, then the second leg is that they now remain docile. Advocacy is the watchword, like we say in a civil society. When you don't talk, you allow the enemy to infiltrate your rank. So, the enemy here is those who are the oppressors. The enemy here is those who are the capitalists. The enemy here is those who are feeding fat on the rot in the system. And what is the rot in the system? When things are not going the way it ought to go. And this WAEC example now is not a good way things ought to go. So, the next thing is that you begin to hear people explaining it away, people justifying it. And that justification is the problem. And everybody will just say, okay, since they have said that, that's all. Not looking into the root and addressing it. Because WAEC didn't just fall on us yesterday.
It's an annual thing.
It's a yearly thing. And my problem is that it has not been so bad and so poor. And of course, I don't know the explanation. Whatever they have said is nothing. Because when even there were scarcity, fuel scarcity, when there were crises, when people like us will lead protests all over the country to frustrate and disturb the sitting of this examination still hold.
Definitely. Yeah, very true.
I can't remember. There was a protest that we held all over the country with NLC.
Yes.
During the Goodluck Jonathan.
Yet, examination held.
And there were no such reports like this.
There wasn't such any report like this because the examination held during the day and everybody was happy. At least that aspect was gone.
Even during COVID-19.
COVID, God bless you.
But
even it wasn't
it was managed such that there was no issue.
So where I'm going is that this time around, there is no problem of fuel, there is no protest, there is no COVID, there is no stress. Why will they now visit us with unimaginable stress and put us to shame? Those of us who are a little bit educated, we are now looked as if we don't know anything. Those of us who have a sense of history, we are now looked at, is it not in this country? That's why when we started, you were looking at me, because my mind now I was confused. Is it not in this country? I'm still remembering now how we were preparing for WAEC. Of course, it won't come till we'll be there for, if we have an afternoon paper, of course, we'll get ourselves ready.
Yeah, from the very beginning. Yeah.
We'll be there in the premises, waiting for them to call us, and of course, we'll start our permutation again. Monopoly, demand and supply, equilibrium, yes, and all those of us who are doing economics. Then if it's government, well, government of the people, by the people.
The key points are always there.
We'll be doing this quick monarchy, aristocracy, militaryocracy, and all. We will be looking at that one. Then those who are doing Bible studies too, they will be looking at what Jesus said in Acts 19:1-8. Power, all these things will be coming. When they now said, "Oh, yeah, come in," we'll now be trying to. If someone wants to come, don't let me, don't touch me. I don't set the thing for my brain. These are practical things. Yes. I've set it. It's set in my brain. Yeah. Please don't talk to me.
Don't disrupt anything there.
So you see that as soon as the paper is giving you start writing. You don't look up. If somebody is your neighbor, because I mean you are writing so as to put the things that you have gotten down. But if you don't have anything in your brain, that's when you now be disturbing your neighbor in the exam hall. That's the practice we know, sir. So this one and of course it's done in the day. Just as someone said, my innocent said now, we're using glasses, and you know that of course some of us have vision problem. Of course I've been using this for more than 40 years, for close to 48 years now. I started using it when I was at the secondary school. So just maybe he knew then. That's why he said that at night, what could I see?
What would you have seen? Very bad. Actually, it's actually very despicable. But let's compare what we have to other countries in Africa, and I'd love to just pick one. Egypt should be our compatriot to some level. They have their own exams called Tanameya Amma. That is their own WAEC. It is not like ours. For them, it's like a continuous exams. So if you fail, you have the opportunity of rewriting it until you pass. So with that, there's no pressure on the students.
Without paying new exams?
Yes, you just keep writing it until you pass. Now, do you think the WAEC in this new generation is becoming grotesque?
It is. In fact, last week, I read somewhere suggested that if you pass your JAMB of 2023, but didn't take it to seek for admission, it shouldn't expire. Since they've scored you from there and it's valid, maybe they should put it for that academic session, say 5 years, if it was mechanical or electrical. So if you had gotten admission and you didn't go, it will now, then you wrote this year, possibly because you didn't go look for admission. When you come next year, they'll say write again. So my respected lecturer and HOD, Professor Alaba Ogunsanwo, will say perhaps nobody should be afraid of change. It is that certain things were not contemplated at the birth of those rules.
Yes.
But social conditions, environments are evolving. So, Henry, the WAEC, as it were, is, first of all, I would start from where Oga Ogunade stopped, the barrister. He's saying we are in a country where heads don't roll. You know, and this kind of thing, in a very high awareness country, parents will synergize to protest.
Yes.
Parents. 2, parents can sue WAEC.
Yes.
Then 3, with due respect, I'm not the presiding umpire, that the Ministry of Education is seemingly littered with inadequacies. There will be a change. I mean, you just had JAMB. One man came with the theater of tears. Then a fortnight later, you have WAEC. And like it's too quick in sequence.
Yes.
If you look at the number of ministries we have,
this thing from the same sector.
Yes, it's too quick in the sequence.
From the same place.
And we are in a country where the population is so ripe, so we are not short of options. If these people have been there, and this is the litany of
failures,
and then this is a reputational crisis for Nigeria. There are too many. What should I put? There are too many grounds to have personnel changes. There are too many grounds.
It has occurred.
There are too many grounds. And lastly, helpless children. You read about their education. Helpless children. We are toying with their future. As we are sitting here, he started with himself. He had a future that was his immediate. And at the 3rd count, he passed the WAEC. We are toying with the future of people who are voiceless today.
There are so many people who got frustrated.
We are toying with people's future, and it's a serious thing. And if you look at this, if you go to some schools, private and public, you will find that many, like I use my school, many of these children who may fail are excellent students in their schools. But with this circumstance, we cannot tell the outcome of what will be. So maybe there is need. Look, you just mentioned Egypt. The noise we make in Nigeria as giant of Africa, nobody knows Egypt that much. So, what are we gianting about? What are we gianting about? We are just to help facilitate succession of children from one grade to another. And we failed our children. And the response is, look at, my copper mate will say, trying to justify injustice. I think maybe the barrister knows better about it. It's appalling and it's lamentable.
Very, very true. Barrister, just before we let you go, where do we go from here? Of course, Nigerians, pundits are very used to listing bullet points of issues, plethora of them. Where do we go from here? How do we start getting it right, such that we can save, number one, our reputation, and equally ensure that our children do not get sabotaged?
The main thing is for Nigerians to always ask government, putting government to task. Government is not put to task. Government officials are allowed to roughshod over us. Whatever they do, nobody questions them, and that's why they continue with this malfeasance and just perfidy. But if, I like how Innocent presented it, and that's just the way to go. If they are not removed, they are sued. They are taken to court because they are toying with the future of the next generation. Let me give you an example. A parent, and of course there is a possibility that, Fela will call it double wahala for daddy body, and the owner of the daddy body, how do I relate it with this one? Your child, first of all, wrote JAMB. That issue is still lingering in the man's brain. He has wasted his money and the stress he went through. Another son or daughter
of the same parent,
is writing WAEC, just wrote WAEC, and he suffered this in this circumstance. You think the man will be happy? And don't forget that I can assure you that parent squeezed himself, of course, to get that money, and even the resources, because it's not the school where they start for the examination is not in his backyard, that he will work there. there is a possibility that resources are spent to go into the exam hall. Monies are given for snacks. Our children these days, they don't spare us. That is money for snacks. So the resources now has gone to the waste harbor. There must be somebody to take care of that. And that's why we call it in law, ibu jus, ibu remedium. If there is an injustice, there must be remedy. There must be remedy to this issue. You see, it continues, perfidy continues, and activities like this continues because nobody is brought to book, nobody is punished, and if there is no punishment, nothing will happen. And that's why the Yoruba people will say that if there is no punishment for any crime, you encourage its continuation. And it will continue to continue. Spare me that word, but it's just like that. It will continue to continue.
Wow.
Why? Because there is no punishment for laxity.
No checks.
This is a national embarrassment, and I hope this thing is blown, this interview is blown out of proportion. You use all the platform you can so it gets to the president. So that they know that this is not, if the president did not go through school, if he did not write WAEC, he can't be the president.
Definitely.
He is a chartered accountant. He couldn't have been a chartered accountant through the back door.
Without WAEC.
Even WAEC is the basic standard of qualification into the national, into the president.
If we say one of the presidents of this country did not study or did not pass through WAEC, not the current one.
Of course.
You get what I'm saying?
We'll get to
So if one has been accused of that, not this current one, he may have issues with university degree, as it were, but not that he did not pass WAEC. So this is the foundation.
Jeez.
And life of people should not be put to destruction, because people tell me that industry is the engine of growth, or otherwise, but to me, it is education that is the engine of growth. If you set up all the best industry, high-tech industry, and there are not educated hands to manage the industry, it will collapse. But when you have a well-educated people, young men particularly, and you give them, even if you bring them to a place that is dead, definitely, because they are educated, they will revive it.
Very true. All right, my last quick question to you, Innocent. What we have, of course, been talking about is a gory, sad reality. Conversely, to the students, it might be okay for them because they might not have gone through this gory side. But I'm talking about the proliferation of special centers, where on the other side of the coin, you have malpractices that leads to mass process for students who weren't even prepared to write exams. But because they wrote exams in special centers, they all passed. So how do we equally tame that?
You know, I didn't know when I mentioned dignity of labor, but that seems to travel through all our conversation. There was a time after our NYC, so while waiting for job and job searching, we were teaching in extramural classes. Every morning, the children who are waiting for WAEC come around 11 till 4. And one of my friends who graduated with the first class that thing got to him. He was very good, and he will be teaching, and if you are not paying attention, he gets very angry. And he called out one boy, "Come, I graduated with the first class. I'm here teaching you. You are lucky I'm teaching you." The boy stood up, like 16 years old, and told him that his father has already registered him for special center. Whether he comes to this class or not, he is already assured he will pass. He's just leaving home because nobody
to play
is
with.
at home. And this, my friend, his mouth was agape. He couldn't close it. Like the value he placed on being studious is lost here. And so the fault of children are the failings of their parents.
Yes.
So this social special center you see is to be blamed on the doorsteps of parents. Some children don't even know such centers existed. Look at his parents didn't do a special center. He took the third time And in all of that, he is the man he is today. If you had just crossed it smoothly the first time, certain awareness won't get to you. So, I don't know. And look, with due respect, I hope I'm not alluding. The government is aware of special centers.
Of course.
It is not existing in the cloud.
Children of government officers are the one who populate the government special centers.
You see?
The young man who spoke, confronting his teacher, obviously he's not a child of a poor man.
No.
He's not a child of somebody who is a nobody.
No.
So when you go to those special centers, it is their children that are there. It's just like even all these various schools too. You don't see the child of a pauper in all these high class and high league private schools.
Yes.
So it's the same thing.
And in my secondary school, St. Patrick's College, Calabar, at your junior WAEC, they have announced it at the assembly hall. They will invite the police.
Yes.
A child caught cheating, sir. The school hands the child over
immediately
to the police, and your friend will go home and tell your parents to go and meet your child at the police station. The same for WAEC. I wouldn't know then if students were racketing with teachers. With it, but I've seen my mates at junior WAEC, 13, 14 years old, sent into police vans and driven out of school. I've seen my mates at WAEC class level sent into police. You know, so even if in quote there were such malfeasance, it would have been minimal. Like for me, I can't allow my father hear that I'm one of those. It is in that police cell, sir, that my father will come and help the police to deal with me.
Please, before you go and before we leave this platform, my brother made a statement, and I appreciate it, about Gen Z children and Gen Z parents. How I like the way you couched it. If you can share it.
No, I said there are no Gen Z children. There are Gen Z parents who condone the excesses of their children and then say this one is Gen Z. Sir, my father had caned me well with injury for bringing a biro I couldn't describe.
You allowed me to remove my trouser and show the world my buttocks. You know, I told you I was very rascal. My father did not spare me.
You will see children who don't work with one expensive phone, living under the same roof with their parents.
My father did not spare me. He knew I was a tough boy. He was equally a tough boy who was not spared by his father.
So
it was in the blood. Is in the blood. No, that's in the blood. Just mention Ugwande. Any Ugwande you see, tough guys. Right. But again, that does not mean that
you are to derail.
So I appreciate what you have just said. I hope that parents, because you see, a child will have the temerity of saying it's old school. And because of that, they will begin to mess up in the new way. And that will not take them anywhere. It leads to a crash and destruction. And that's why the Bible tells me that a child that does not follow his father's step, by virtue of advice, will derail and will crash. And that's why I use this opportunity to implore all parents to train your children. Because the Bible tells me again, train up the child the way he will go. If he grows, he will not depart. Most parents don't train their children the way they should go. And that's why when they have grown up now, they depart. As a lawyer, I handle divorce matters now, and it's very painful. You see the people who got married just 6 months, 1 year, the highest maybe 2 years, seeking divorce because the parents refuse to train their children, particularly the girl child. And it's very, very bad. And I hope parents will take note. Particularly, again, parents who encourage their children not to read, but to prepare them for special centers. When they pass the examination, it now boils down to what maybe the person who's supposed to have handled this logistics or this work thing. Maybe the person went to a special center. He didn't study very well. He was not tutored very well. That's why, because you can't give what you don't have. That's a principal thing. And you can't build something on nothing. Those two works together. You can't give what you don't have, and you can't build something on nothing. So if those two works together, it goes to our parents to ensure to build their children so as to giving them something that will fall back tomorrow.
Very, very true. And we can say this better. The efficiency And the sustainability of WAEC is not just the responsibility of the examination, but it equally falls on the parents and the guardians of those who take some of these exams. And it's very important that we say that what we go through in Nigeria, should not be allowed to repeat itself again, because Nigeria is not just the only country, like we did say. There are 5 countries in Africa that take the same exams: Ghana, Liberia, Nigeria, which is us, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia. So I love to believe if these 4 countries can get it right, we should of course lead, because we are the giant of Africa, theoretically, isn't it? All right, thank you so very much, Barrister, for being here. We truly do appreciate you. Thank you.
To God be the glory.
All right, Innocent Atuluba. Thank you
Always
so
a
much.
pleasure.
All right, people, that's just about the time we have. We'd love to say thank you to you for making it a date and making the picture complete. Please do well to visit us if you may. You can always find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally rewatch some of the things we've talked about when you visit us at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Igwebike. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.